Hello traders, this is Mark aka Trader Bougie. So I've been trying for probably a week or two to make some chart review videos and live trading videos, and I've had nothing but trouble with microphones and headsets. So I think this one, hopefully this one will get out. Okay, this is July 15th, Friday. I basically traded six contracts on Sim on NinjaTrader 7. I basically just basically run right through the basically what was happening here. Okay, basically pretty standard chart. I got the pivots plus, which is a little bit better than the standard pivots offered on NinjaTrader 7. And I got a MACD, which you may think looks a little bit different. So instead of the two short-term MACDs that kind of isolate together, I got a very similar short-term MACD that goes up and down and is color-coded. And then I got a slightly longer-term MACD. This is the ES September chart. This is in the Globex session, so the main chart is 233 volume. The anchor chart is 700 volume. Alrighty, let's get going. So basically I'm in China, I'm 12 hours apart, and it just so happens that I'm not working today. So basically in the afternoon, or actually right around noontime, which would have been midnight, New York time, I started looking at the Globex session. So I'm not sure if that would be considered Friday or Thursday or whatever. I'm calling it Friday early morning Globex session. So unfortunately I missed this nice trend going up. Once I started looking at it, it was around 11 something. So you can see it was today's high, and it was basically losing steam. You can see the long-term scholastic was dropping. You can see the momentum was kind of dropping, getting some divergence here. You can see I drew the divergence line from the high, and then lower high and lower high again. So what I did was I drew a channel, because you can see here was bouncing up and down more or less within that channel. So over here around 20 after 11 was a T20, depending on if you're following on the 21 EMA or depending on if you're using the 34. So I kind of marked it right in between, but I was hesitating to jump in on this T20 because like you see there's a pivot point here, and also the 89 EMA was right there. So that's where I kind of drew a little, you can call it kind of a support range here, or and I was waiting to break through the I was waiting to break, first of all, outside of the channel, and at least have a couple of good pokes to the 89 EMA. So I kind of went and took a short position right here, if you can see the red arrow, just around midnight or so. And actually there was a pretty strong bounce of the 89 EMA, and it kind of went right up and stopped me out over here, so for a 5-tick loss. Second one was a winner. So second one again was I said, okay, now this time I'm gonna wait till I really punch through the 89 EMA. Then I also got the 200 EMA right behind it, so I'm gonna really wait until I get past that. So I'm not sure what you'd call that trade. I call it, actually you could call it like a breakdown trade. Sorry, that's supposed to be breakout, supposed to be on the upper side, or you could call it a momentum trade. But anyway, I entered in, where did I enter in? I'm looking for the arrow. Yeah, I shorted right here, so right below the 200 EMA. I use a plus or minus 5 ticks strategy. Okay, so basically I kind of held on here, and I was filled when I hit my target somewhere around here. So that was good for, but unfortunately I was trailing my stops. So I came, what am I saying here? I touched my target. Hang on. No, I don't think I touched it. I came 1 or 2 ticks away from my target, and then I kind of retraced a little bit, and I was trailing my stop, locking in some profits. So that was only good for 2 ticks. My third trade was a another kind of sideways channel. I was kind of thinking that, looking at the anchor chart as well, if you can see where the crosshairs is on the left chart, I was kind of thinking that there's going to be a pullback, like at the 89 on the anchor chart or even beyond. Because if I were to draw a line on the fractal points here, I wasn't getting much of a retrace yet. So, but it was kind of running sideways, so I kind of drew a sideways channel, and it was still oversold, and then the short-term scholastic hooked down. I had down momentum, and as well on the anchor chart, oversold on the long-term scholastic, even though I just used this basically as a trend indicator, but it seemed like a high probability that this was going to continue to the downside. So I went short right after it broke below these lows, and I came a tick or so from my target, and then I went backwards. I think I came 2 ticks away, so I wasn't quite able to trail my stop. So that was a 5 tick loss. So far for this session, I would have 2 losses and a win, and I was down $100 trading one contract. So then I said, bloody hell, this is not going well. I gotta get me some wins here. So there was that retrace that I was kind of expected to happen before. So that retrace went right through the 34. It touched on the 89. So I said, aha, there's my we're still in the downtrend, so I'm gonna get in on this 89 bounce. So, but the market was moving pretty slowly, so I didn't want to do a market order. So I was up doing something or other. So it was a few ticks down, So I said, well, let me put a limit order, a buy limit order in this area, hoping to just pull back a couple of ticks and then get in short. But it didn't happen, so it kind of went down to here. And then I had another little bit of a retracement just between the 34 and 89, and I ended up having another limit order here, which I missed again, just by a tick or so. And then that ran, and that would have been a good scalp. So that was 2 limit orders that were missed. So I thought, yeah, let me make a little note here, so that when I do my chart review, I'll be able to remember what happened here and why I didn't get in here. Usually I take market orders, especially on the New York session, but I don't find my fills are good, all the time. And with a plus 5 tick target, or if it's in the beginning of the trend, I try to use a 1.5 reward to risk ratio. And very often I touch my target or I miss it by a tick, and I ended up having a lot of break-even trades, like a lot, during the past week or two. So I'm trying to figure out, come on, man, how can I turn these break-even trades into at least a few ticks profit, or maybe 4 ticks, or I gotta improve my entries. So here, I guess the third time was a charm. It kind of came back, and this time I did get in on a limit order, and you can see I had a pretty good fill. So that was good for 5. So I call this a T2, but you could call it a 34B as well. And I went right down and I got filled for my target here. So 1, 2. So I actually exceeded my target in this case by 3 ticks. So again, really having a decent entry really gives you a really good chance to get your scalp in, you know. And so at that point I was minus 37.50. My 5th trade, moving right along. So here you see we had the kind of double bottom going on. So this was today's low. So it looked like, you know, maybe that trend was going to be finished. So then I said, okay, what's going on? So basically I start looking for T20s. So there was one here, and so that was a higher low and a higher high, and the 34 EMA started going, and even on the anchor chart, the 8 EMA and the 34 are starting to point upwards. You can see the long-term scholastic is going up on the long-term chart, which is a good indicator of a change in trend direction as well. But I didn't want to get right into it, because look at the 200 EMA here. It's just kind of creating a ceiling, and also this was a sideways channel. So I said, let's wait until we break out of the sideways channel, and not only that, let's wait until we break out and close over the 200 EMA, so that it's not going to be a fake out. So I got 2 closes above the 200 EMA. So I got a bunch of green candles above the 8 EMA, which is above the 21, which is above the 34. So if it's not for that 200, I'm golden here. So I got basically a little bit of a retrace, and then I got filled on this here, one of these candles here. I call it like a T25. You can call it like a T25, but I put on there, it should say T20. I say it says 120, so I'm calling it a T20-1, which I think is a high probability, which is even increasing the probability of the trade. So that was trade number 5. My target was filled over here, so basically almost the perfect scalp for 5 ticks. At that point, I'm plus 25 bucks. So I'm not buying my mansion yet, but I'm plus 25 bucks on the day after my 5th trade. You know, I thought I was going to call it quits, but you know, and I probably should have, although 25 bucks is, you know, it's not something to write home about, but I kind of wanted to do 5 trades. So, but then I see this kind of retracement, and I said, okay, this looks like a really nice looking 89 bounce, you know? And so, and you know, when I look at my anchor chart on the left, it did, you know, I don't have the 89 EMA there, but it's like a 34 bounce, you know? So I said, you know, this is the beginning of the trend. I just got 1 trade in so far. I gotta get, you know, try to get a couple more trades in this trend. Unfortunately, what the hell happened was I took a 1.5 to 1 risk reward because I'm early in the trend, and well, roughly, I think 7 ticks to be exactly was what I was. Pardon me. No, this was just the standard 5 and 5. Sorry. So what happened was I came. You know, I was moving my stop loss 2 ticks below the cycle low, so about here, right? And then I was trailing my stop a little bit, and I came 1 tick away from my target, like 1 bloody tick away, because I was going for this same target. So at that point, I hadn't reached here yet. I think I had reached here. Anyway, or maybe it did poke to my target but didn't get filled. Then down I went, but because I was trailing my stop, I only lost one tick. I mean, if I would have had a stop, that would have been. But I mean, this is a pretty valid stop out, right? Otherwise, I would have had to have a stop loss. Like, who knows where to put your stop? So I had put it 2 ticks away from the cycle low, and I just got stopped out. So basically, but um, you can see that right after that, it blew right by my target. So that's the note that I did here. So basically, then everything is going sideways, chop, 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 and it's still going choppy. So this is basically my session. So just a few things to kind of as a closing comments, okay? So I'm certainly not no expert. I'm just kind of at the break-even point with my sim trading. I've been trading, I guess, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. I anticipate probably in a couple of months going live, but it all depends. I want to double or triple my sim account a couple of times in a row. If I go to here, I can see, this is NinjaTrader, but this is a place where every trading session, I can actually put some comments here. So I'm doing a journal right in the NinjaTrader. So I'm keeping notes on. You might see it on Ray's Google Drive. It's a one-page sheet that has 5 trades, and I can keep notes on the fly as I go. So basically, what I was gonna say is I found the major difference trading the Globex session versus the New York session. So I was tracking them separately, and I was doing much better on the New York session. And I think it's important to look at your win-loss ratio, and not only that, but your winning ticks versus your losing ticks. Because with those two indicators, for example, this week, both of those measurements have increased versus last week. But for the first month that I was paper trading or sim trading, I wasn't actually taking statistics very well, So I think what you don't measure doesn't get improved. So if you keep resetting your sim account, it's fine in the beginning because you're learning the basics. But as soon as you think you got the basics down, you gotta stop zero setting that bloody sim, and you gotta start measuring your statistics, and use the same value as your real account. For example, I got my sim account, right? I got my sim account here. I started at 8,500, so I'm at 7,000 roughly. So yes, in the last 2-3 weeks, I have lost money, but my performance is improving, and I don't want to keep resetting it. So I'm going to try to build that up to 10,000 or 12,000, or 15,000 without resetting it. This is my real account, $8,600, right? But it's just sitting there. It's just dormant. It's just a matter of a click to basically get it going. So it's really important to measure your stats. So by the way, that's it for now. I'm gonna try to do videos on chart reviews. Oh, I got a downtrend going on here. I might even take a trade right here. So let's have a look. So here was the T20. Okay. Here, just to understand what I'm doing, here you have the long-term scholastics going into the oversold area. Here we got a T20. Here we got a basically you can call it a T10. Right? That would have been a T10, or you could call it 34B, especially these ones here. And actually, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try to get in on the T25. So I'm going to see if I can wait until I get another retrace. You can see my momentum is going down on both my charts. So I'm going to try to basically put a sell limit order.
Order pending.
And I'm going to see if I can get some type of retrace closer to the 34 EMA. Okay. This might take a while because the market's moving slowly, so I'm gonna pause it. Okay. So nothing, not filled yet. One tick away. You can see though the short-term scholastic is really going up. So hopefully it's gonna be hooking. I have it set up not on the close, but on the price value. That's why you see it's just moving around there. So you gotta wait for the close in order to wait to see if it's gonna hook or not. Wow. Okay, so now again you can see on the anchor chart my long-term scholastic is dropping. My momentum is also going down. I got a major divergence going on. Okay, so I don't really want to buy here because I really want to buy on a red candle, hopefully closing below the 8 EMA. But it is going to be
Order filled.
but it is kind of a risky entry. But you know what? I'll take it. Okay. In this case, and here, because it's the beginning of the trend, I'm going to give it 2 additional ticks to run to. Now this line that I put here is just basically the one of the last cycle lows. So we'll see if it breaks through that to reach my target or not. But at the moment, there's no pivots in the way. There's no EMAs in the way. This is my low of the day. So let's just see what happens. Okay. So not too much going on. So as you can see, it did touch the 34 EMA. You could call it a T2 as well. Whatever it is kind of like a T. Well, this here could be like a T20-1. This kind of like a T20-2. But you can see that I am heading down there. My stop loss just came up according to my automated strategy, but it did end up 2 ticks before the. But actually, sorry, I am using an automated trailing stop. So that stop loss was higher, but as soon as I got plus 2 ticks, it starts to follow the price I think by 4 or 5 ticks. Okay. So I used to keep my stop alone until I just came 1 tick away from break even. But I used to get stopped out quite a bit and lose a lot of ticks. So I switched over to using an automated trailing stop, and I find that my losses are smaller. So it's not, it depends what works for you, but that seems to work for me. So again, it's not moving too quickly, but let's just watch it for a bit. So I'm just jotting down on my paperwork, that I entered around 4:30, 4:39 in the Globex session. ES 233 volume, September 16. This is short, plus minus 5 ticks. So it's moving. Now it moved to. You can see it moved to break even. And it's touching the cycle low at before. So hopefully it's going to punch through that. Just to keep the video from being too long, I'm going to pause it. And I'll be back as soon as something develops here. So, yeah, there's no real reason why it wouldn't. Yeah, it did close under the. Okay, so I'm 1 tick away from my target here, and you can see that my stop loss did lock in a little bit more profits. And now I'm touching my target. Hopefully I'm gonna get filled. Come on. Jesus. You know, this sucks, man. I freaking hate this. So, I don't want to give all this.
Stop filled.
You know, I'm fed up with giving a lot of targets away, so, because I did that, you know, several times. So, basically, sorry, just looking at what happened here. Let's go to account performance, trades. So I was, oh sorry, I'm on the wrong date here. So let's go back to Friday. And you can see that I got my 5 ticks. I was going for 7, but you know, I was at 6 or 7 and I wasn't getting filled. So I took the 5 ticks. So basically, I ended up $75 in the positive. So now I am actually going to close this trading session for now, and basically, you know, I'm not sure that that this video was useful or not. It's actually a little on the longer side. I was